So, Nate, it seems like there's been a rash of European governments and Canada coming out and recognizing the Palestinian state. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this in the last couple of days?
How could we not have heard about this? All over the place, unfortunately, but yes.
So it is quite a sea change in policy. So let's talk a little bit about the background. I mean, we could do hours and hours and hours talking about the background of the Arab-Israeli conflict, but just a very, very short overview. The various parties have wanted a two-state solution, a so-called two-state solution to the Arab-Israeli conflict for years. I mean, if you go back to the Clinton years, where they struck a deal to have a two-state solution, i.e., that the Gaza Strip and the West Bank will be recognized as a Palestinian state, and the Palestinian people, the Palestinian Authority or authorities, will formally recognize Israel as a state, and that is it, a two-state solution. For various reasons, which we won't go into, because again, that is the minutiae of it. It will take hours to do it any sort of justice. That broke down because basically the hardliners on both sides were never honest actors in that. Like the hardline Zionists will never accept it, and the hardline Islamists will never accept it. I mean, both hated their leaderships at the time. I mean, Yitzhak Rabin was murdered because of it. But he was killed by a right-wing Israeli who thought he'd sold out the Israeli people by shaking hands with Yasser Arafat at the White House that time in the early 90s. So people that are honest, people that are really honest about it, will say that there cannot really be a two-state solution. That's sort of pie in the sky. Neither side will really ever accept that. And yet it gets trotted out all the time. Oh, the answer to this is a two-state solution. Well, is it though? Because I don't think so. I don't think so. So anyway, regardless of all of that, regardless of reality, basically, in the last few days, first of all, France came out saying, we recognize a Palestinian state, or we want to. And then Britain on that day or the day after said, we don't. But then a day later, Keir Starmer said, we do actually. Crazy U-turn, crazy U-turn, flying in the face of decades of policy. Whether that original policy was right or wrong, that can be up for debate, but doing a massive U-turn on a big piece of foreign policy. And then Canada came out, I think yesterday, saying they also. And then today I saw that Germany, and I think Portugal as well, came out and said, we recognize or are going to or mean to recognize the Palestinian state. So, okay, for better or worse, that is a big change, a sea change in foreign policy from all over the Western world, Western governments. So it begs a few questions. Why? Where is this coming from? The first question, of course, is it doesn't make real serious sense because of everything I already said about the Islamists and the Zionists. Neither of them really want or will ever accept a two-state solution. So, okay, there's that first level. But then the second level is, okay, so what is going on? Because a lot of these countries like Canada, Britain, even France, Germany, they've always been, you must say, fairly staunchly on the Israeli side of the equation. If they have to pick back against the wall, they have to pick a side. It has always been the Israeli side. So, like, what's changed? Of course, a lot has changed in the last year or two. But why now suddenly? I mean, I've seen a few different people try and answer that question. It's all a bit shady and murky at this point. It's not clear why exactly they're doing this. One explanation I've heard, it may or may not be true, so this is just what I've heard, is that maybe if these countries like Germany, France, Britain, Canada, if they formally recognize a Palestinian state, then it's much easier for them to accept refugees.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. That was going to be the thing that would annoy you.
Oh, you go.
No, that was the thing I was going to say. we do a little bit of a preamble off camera, folks. And I said to Bo, I'm gonna say something that will really annoy him. That was what I was gonna say. That was a theory that, yeah, the idea is that they want to recognize it because some nonsense ECHR crap that would allow them to then flood the countries with all of these as refugees. Yeah, I do have another one, which I don't know. This isn't fear mongering. This is just a speculative. But they might know that there is potentially some form of plot in these countries, and they're trying to appease them. This has been going on for a significant amount of time now. We do know, there was the whole foiled plot with some Iranians. It's not a far-fetched far-fetched idea or notion to say that the powers that be, the intelligence services, are aware that there may be some form of an imminent plot to some degree. You never know. And this could be some way to mitigate that. Who knows?
Another possible explanation is these countries like Canada, the UK, Germany, whatever, that our politicians, cowards, moral cowards that they are, make the calculation, well, our countries are so flooded with Muslim populations now that we have to appease them. And appeasement is the right word. So it might be that, right? Our Jewish diasporas are relatively small in numbers, and the Muslims are a big voting bloc. And regardless of whether they're from Bangladesh or Indonesia or Morocco, they all think with some sort of tribal hive mind, and they all really care about Gaza, or at least pretend to. So we have to placate them, appease them. Maybe that's going on. But the idea that you have that you flood your own country with people from the West Bank or from Gaza is crazy. These people are so radicalized. Obviously, not every single one of them, but largely to the point where Egypt, a Muslim country, accepts as few as humanly possible from Gaza. They'd rather see them starve to death in Gazan camps than allow them into Egypt. Jordan, going back to the 80s, going back to the 70s, sort of closed their doors effectively to West Bank refugees. Loads of the countries, Saudi Arabia, it's just a hard no, thank you. Like Saudi Arabia, can't you accept a bunch of Palestinian refugees? No, we don't want them. They're crazies. They're way too Islamist for us. A Wahhabist theocracy. They're too extreme for us. Right? Turkey, you can take them. No, we don't want them. No one wants them because they're highly radicalized and militant people. Again, not perhaps every single individual, like the children, young children will be innocent, won't they? But so, and I think in terms of international law and movements of people, there are all sorts of question marks about stateless people. If they've got a state, then they can go through the normal procedures to allow them the safe and legal routes directly into our towns and cities, and then small villages and hamlets and etc. We've had a number of MPs. I think Zara Sultana and who's the other one who looks like Mask?
Oh, Nadia Whittome.
Nadia Whittome. I've seen them standing up in committee saying we must accept Gazan refugees. Must we? Are you mad?
Are you actually mental? These people would rather throw you off of a building than live in civilization. They're not interested. They're not at all. All we're doing is moving further and further towards the precipice of Balkanization and Lebanon. That's all that's going to happen here if we accept these people. And Lebanon is obviously a very pertinent, example to throw out there because of what happened there with Palestinians. So yeah, not great. I did see that Sequoia Starmer did say, well, you have to do this, and this by like September or something like that. And then if these conditions aren't met, then I will recognise a Palestinian state. I don't know if he's U-turned on that and just said, yeah, we do now. Maybe things are moving pretty quick at this point in time. We are recording this on the 31st of July, just to throw out there. So when this goes out, if things have moved even more radically, that we do apologize. But yeah, it's just insanity. Like it's national suicide. It's national suicide. There's no other way to call it. It's national suicide. Like these things, this is insane. Like it's actually insane. These people are insane. They are barbarians. They are savages. They medieval. Like they don't belong here at all.
And a broader principle of essentially rewarding terrorists. Essentially what it is. So, I mean, I saw someone, it is sort of a fairly pro-Israeli angle or take, but it's also, can't really argue with it. When you present the facts this way by saying, okay, they did the October 7th terrorist attacks. They took loads of hostages, 200 plus hostages, over 100 of which they've still got. And they haven't accepted any sort of peace deal. And now they're being rewarded with a state, at least in the eyes of some of our countries, and refugee status and all the rest of it. So, again, being rewarded politically for doing terroristic things.
Oh, it's mental, isn't it?
It's beyond
it's really
weak
mental
from our point of view. It's beyond weak.
Yeah.
They're actively damaging our societies.
Yeah, I mean, it's mental. I mean, you know, we can get into the sort of the ethics of well, we could. We're not going to get to the ethics of the whole situation. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, these are such a... I'm going to sound really, really brutal here, but it just is what it is. These people are so backwards and just so polar opposite to what the Western world is. Like, I don't understand what they hope to achieve by doing this. Is it merely that the Western world, is it them trying to throw a bone? I don't know. Have the Israelis somehow lobbied them to do this so they can get more of them out there, you know, in terms of refugees, so then Israel will just take over the whole area? There's so many different layers that you could look at with this. But I just think fundamentally, you know, as you say, like rewarding these individuals, I mean, it's madness. Like it's a type of madness that a country would import such high risk people into their culture, such high risk. And naivety, I don't know, naivety, evil, so many different ways of looking at it.
Yeah, radicalized to the point of militancy. Yeah, these are the people you absolutely don't want in your societies. I'd like to say even Egypt and Jordan, it's just a firm no from them. It doesn't really make sense to me at this point. It doesn't really make sense because you say there's a couple of different layers. Would Israel actually want this because it would help clear out Gaza if that's their ultimate aim, is to essentially clear Gaza out by a hook or by a crook? But okay, so if that were the case, that would make some sort of sense. But it's the Israeli policy, it's Netanyahu's policy, and this does also completely make sense that they don't want big governments like Germany or France or Britain or Canada to recognize Palestine. They don't want that because they don't want that two-state solution. They don't want it. They don't want the rest of the world to recognize that. So those two things are contradictory. The Israelis don't want it, but they do want it in order to clear Gaza out. Well, that doesn't add up. So that's why it's odd. That's why it's odd. I think particularly revealing was that when Macron came out and said this sort of this game-changing policy, a change of policy that hasn't really been done before, or certainly in decades and decades, suddenly he's saying this. And that Sequeir said, well, we don't agree with Macron on that. And I think it was one day later, maybe two, but I think it was one day later, he said, oh, actually, we do. We are agreeing with France and Macron on this now. So what I said one day ago and has been the UK's government position for decades or for always, I'm going back on that. Like, wait, what? Why though? Like, yeah, what? Who was in your ear to get you to do that? Like, what is going on behind the scenes?
Yeah,
we don't know at this stage. It all just seems, doesn't it, from the outsider's perspective, looking on, it just seems crazy. that they've gone mad. And whatever you can say, whatever you argue, they absolutely aren't, like the French, German, Canadian, English government, British government. Whatever they're doing, it's not in our interest.